My name is Marjan van Herwijnen in proper Dutch. And I'm a research and policy manager at the ESPON EGTC in Luxembourg. And I was asked to give you some information on what you can find within the ESPON program to help you in putting rule of proofing into practice. Next slide, please.
Wait, I'm just trying to put it clearly in full screen.
No problem.
That.
I will just continue. That's
yeah. I let you continue. I have an issue there, but
okay.
It will be solved.
Okay.
Do you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So you tell me when you want me to pass from one slide to another.
Yeah, you can go to the next slide. Thank you. As we all know, the EU develops and adjusts legislation, policies and directives. And in general, the policy impacts of these are assessed using impact assessment. And then this impact assessment is used to identify the advantages and disadvantages of these policies by looking into possible economic, social and environmental effects. But we also know that most EU policies have territorial effects, that they influence the development of different regions differently. Take, for example, the legislative framework for sustainable food systems. The extent of the problems being intensive agriculture, climate change, ensuring food security, etc., varies a lot across countries and regions. And as such, the impacts of this strategy and this framework will also differ over these regions and countries. And therefore, it is important to look into questions such as, is this problem concentrated in certain areas, in regions or member states? And could this framework law have a disproportional large impact on certain areas, negative or positive? And the general aim of the ESPON program is to inform policy making with territorial evidence. This is why we took up the challenge within the 2006 program already to investigate to what extent the EU policies affect the development of different regions differently. This was in first instance done via a number of projects, assessing possible territorial impacts of sectoral policies such as transport, agriculture, energy and fisheries. And later on, the ESPON 2013 program developed a more coherent methodology, as well as a web application that can be used in a more easy way to check possible territorial impacts. And on the next slide, you can see the figure of the methodology that has been developed to answer these types of questions. And this methodology is based on the vulnerability concept that was developed by the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And the method combines the exposure, which you can see on the left, of regions to any legislation with the sensitivity of these regions, which you can see on the right. And the more sensitive a region is, the more it will be affected by a new policy. And within this methodology, the sensitivity of the regions, which is on the right, is determined by the relevant territorial indicators. And this is based on data from Eurostat and other sources. The degree of exposure on the left is determined by expert voting during workshops or other means. So to obtain the potential territorial impact, the effects on the left from a particular policy are combined with the characteristics of the region. And the potential impacts are then presented at the nudge tree level in maps. This methodology and the web application has been developed to support the moderation of TIA workshops. And for these workshops, experts from various cities and regions are invited, who then become part of the process. And they help discover the potential territorial impacts. Can you click, please? Here you can see a systemic picture that was developed during such a workshop with experts on the policy, but also on the different types of territories. And if you click again, please, then you can see an example of a map that shows the impact of a policy on the specific regions. And there you can see that different regions are differently impacted. Next slide, please. The TIA web tool that has been developed is built around 5 steps. And first you have to set up your TIA and decide what type of TIA you want to do. More about this a bit later. After this step, you select various types of regions and exposure fields. And as a third step, you can then show and view the impact maps that have been created. And you can also perform some simple analysis on the results of these maps. A more advanced analysis is also included in the tool, for example, aggregating the impacts that are calculated using various indicators. And finally, it's possible to note down conclusions in the last step. As mentioned, when you start the TIA tool, the first step is to decide what type of TIA you want to do. You can choose between a general TIA, a TIA focused on cross-border regions, or one on urban regions. And within the general TIA, you can do a TIA for all regions in Europe. Or you can focus on a specific types of regions, such as rural regions, urban regions, mountain regions, island regions, etc. And it's good also to realize that by focusing on rural regions, you can support rural proofing. For urban and cross-border regions, you can also focus then on urban regions or on cross-border regions. And you can also focus on other types of regions, island regions, for example. But for urban and cross-border, we have developed different modules. For the urban TIA model, the basic specificity is a functional urban areas, so that you can also use indicators and data that is at the FUA level, and not only at the NUTS 3 level, which is in the general TIA. And about 20 specialized data sets at the FUA level are included in the tool. For the cross-border TIA module, there are a number of new indicators developed. And these indicators have a specific link to a region in relation to neighboring regions. For example, GDP loss due to cross-border obstacles or differences in hospital beds. And then finally, let me see, there is also a TIA necessity check, because if you, maybe you know, but in the better regulation guidelines, it is suggested to conduct a TIA for any policy on the EU level that is likely to have relevant territorial differentiated impacts on regions. But then you have to decide whether or not that is the case, and that is not an easy way. So to give some guidance for Commission services in this case, it is supported to identify the territorial dimension using this TIA necessity check with the help of a decision tree, whether a territorial impact assessment would be useful for the specific policy or not. It's also good to know that a large number of TIA workshops have been organized and moderated using the TIA tool. And in particular, the Committee of the Regions is a big fan of the tool. And they initiated almost 30 TIA workshops in a participatory approach with representatives of regions and cities. And the discussions within these TIA workshops provide input to prepare their opinions on EU policy proposals. And one of the discussions that was had, that was done in 2022 was on this legislative framework for sustainable food systems, where you can also find then on the TIA webpage of the Committee of the Regions, the report that they developed. At the moment, we are preparing a new project that will take up the ESPON TIA tool and develop new approaches to apply this methodology also within national and subnational contexts. And this project is still to be started. On the next slide, you can see also a lot of other projects that have been developed and implemented within the ESPON program, and that could be interesting and relevant for rural areas. You can, for example, see a project on regional labor markets, on shrinking cities, societies, on public services in lagging regions and areas, sparsely populated areas and areas at risk of becoming that, and small and medium-sized cities. And furthermore, it is also important to know, and you might be interested in that as policymakers, we have also the possibility to request and submit proposals for a targeted analysis. And if you have an idea for a project, and you want ESPON to carry out this project with their support, then you can submit your ideas to us via a proposal in which you outline the policy issues that you would like to have addressed by this targeted analysis. And if your proposal is selected, we will co-create together the terms of reference for the project, earmark a dedicated budget, and also start a public procurement to select a service provider that will implement the project, and you will also be involved in the implementation. So if you are interested, please visit this webpage that is indicated here, probably on the link. And then finally, I want to point out on the next slide that there is also an ESPON portal which gives access to all the quantitative information that have been developed by our projects. And there you can find data sets, interactive maps, data stories, dashboards, and web applications, such as the TIA application. And you can also find here, for example, a data story on circular rural regions, which has been developed and published earlier this year. If you have any questions on ESPON evidence, then please feel free to contact me or Andrea, who is also in this meeting, or one of our other colleagues in the ESPON EDTC, because we are also there to help you in using ESPON results if it's not completely clear where to find it. Thank you.